There were some people over here that said they had not heard of or not drinking North Coast, and you may have, you just may not know it due to the fact that as a company at North Coast, we're so brand or style specific, we really don't talk too much about the company as a whole. So a lot of times when I'm out in the field, I have to go North Coast Old Rasputin or North Coast, let's say Scrimshaw, Pilsner. So, you know, that's the word North Coast, that whole company image, and that's something we're trying to work on internally, is to get more exposure through that. So that's my North Coast piece. Chad asked me to talk a little about myself, and so I'll do that before we get into the beers. Again, my name's Scott LaCorr, and I've been in the industry for a while. In St. Louis, I joined a company called Schlafly in 1997. I worked with them for about 17 years. You guys may have heard of Hop in the City. In 1999, I helped design that throughout. We did some great things. We did seasonals, and it was a fun ride. It was a point in my life where I really wanted to go to a regional, so a little about North Coast. They're in 48 states, and they are the 47th or 48th largest brewer by BA standards, which is nice volume. We're a green corp, or we call B Corp, which is a very green organization that deals with transparency, and we do a lot of things that help communities. We donate to the Jazz Society via our brother Felonious beer, which we don't have here tonight. And that organization's run by Herbie Hancock. You guys may have heard of him. And he takes kids that are at risk and teaches them instruments, and it might help them further, their education or, aspirations in life. And then we have another one, which we're actually going to drink tonight. It is a Steller IPA, and what we do there as far as charitable givings is we give to mammal research. So for whales and things like that, marine life, what we want to do there is make sure that the whales aren't getting stuck and they're looked after. Because people were going and killing the whales for a while, and then registrations and all that. So we just got to keep them going pretty good. But that's enough about our charitable givings in a sense. It teaches you guys a little bit about us as a company, because we are a very transparent, I would say fairly laid back company, and most of our brands are named after either heritage brands like Red Seal, Scrimshaw, or they have some backstories like Old Rasputin. But back in 1992, I that's when I started my little home brewing. I guess my mother was the only one that actually thought it was good, and I remember in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta, and so I started homebrewing in New Orleans, but I lived in Atlanta during the Olympics in '96, and just a quick little anecdotal story. So I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and I used the other bedroom as my brew house. And I had the bottling and had the tanks and all that. We were using corny kegs back then, the Coke kegs. And you would prime and stuff. But I was bottling this day, and I overprimed with sugar. And so it's like middle of the night, and you just hear bang, bang, bang. And so we thought somebody broke in, right? Atlanta, it was kind of crazy at the time. And it was one of those things where she tells me to go out there and figure it out, and I give her the baseball bat. And we ended up figuring out that we had broken bottles in my closet, because they blew up because they were overprimed. Oh, well. So, we're talking about this movement. You guys, again, a lot of faces that I see. We're in the craft beer movement, and this movement is very unique, and it takes retailers like Cicero's to do this. I mean, I remember when Karen was saying that she wanted to start doing beer schools. In my head, I'm like, who's going to really want all that? It's just, it seemed like we were fighting so hard back in the day when I was at Schlafly to get people to understand better beer, that we didn't think groups or organizations would gravitate to it so quickly. And I mean, now we're a long time in, and we have people like yourself, which is cool. We look at the wine movement in the 80s, look at the food movement, and then we're here with craft. So now I guess this is my hand. I need to talk about a beer real quick, and then I'll go into my other stuff. So we're going to start off with Pranqster. All right, so Pranqster, it is this Belgian ale that we have here. It's got a nice little nose. We think about it. So what I like about North Coast, they don't make good beers. They make great beers. I mean, everything they do is completely outstanding. If you look at their labs and you look at their facilities, there's not anything that's unchecked. So when I started with them, and let me just tell you, I've only been here for about 3 months with these guys, and it's a dream job, and it took me 20-something years to get to where I am, and I'm very excited about that. So let's try this. Very complex. I mean, coming right off, I mean, it's almost like it's dancing around your palate in a sense. It's got some 4 notes, and then it's coming around. It's not lingering. I'm pulling clove. Anyone? What are we pulling here? This is interaction. Banana. I mean, that's fun. So if I'm going to drink this, I could go and complement it with some great dishes. I could use this as my fall beer working in the lawn. So it really hits all those marks. But we do have to realize that the ABV, I think it is like 7.6. So it's sneaky big. It could make your knees buckle if you sat for a while. But, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I get that. I like that interaction there. I mean, it's full. Cheers. That's awesome. Hopefully we got some converters there. If you didn't, the door is, I think, the back to the right, correct? So I'm going to go back and talk about the beer culture because I'm so intrigued by it. So with North Coast, right now I'm only managing about 8 states. So, I live in St. Louis, born and raised here. And so I go anywhere from, let's say, Nebraska, Iowa. Actually, I was in New Orleans Saturday. So, it's just like this central corridor. But let's go back to North Coast. So where is North Coast? North Coast, right? So you fly into San Francisco. You get in a rental car, because San Francisco is the closest you're getting. And then you drive 3.5 hours up the coast to this little place called Fort Bragg. And Fort Bragg is like, the population is like nil. But it's like super like old hippie town in a sense. you know, a lot of VW bugs, you know, and just a lot of independent retailers, people who really appreciate what they're up to. The ambient temperature up there is, I think it goes from like 55 to like 68 year round. You know, so, you know, polar fleece and some shorts, you're all set. But a blue polar fleece and some shorts, and you're all set. So that gives a whole bunch of things to our brand that are unique. First of all, California water conservation. You know, you got to deal with that. We have something unique in our brewing process that is a press. Not many breweries, well, I think we're like one of 2 or 3 in the United States that do it. So we have a press. So at Schlafly, we brewed, you know, let's say 45 to 50,000 barrels out of 36,000 square feet. These guys are doing 80,000 barrels out of 12,000 square feet. How is that possible? Fermentation goes higher, through the roof, but they have this grain press, which is really unique. So if I went like the size of this room, so now I brew, you know, I'm brewing my little thing, cooking my stew, and I put it in this press, and then I need to extract it. So it's like a big old collection table, really about the size of this room. And then hydraulic comes down and presses it to a degree where there's no water in it. We get 99% of the water out of this. So our yield extraction's higher. And we take this spent grain, which spent grain for most brewers is like this stinky stuff that you give to cattle as feed. What we do with our spent grain, our spent grain, it was almost like sorghum. It is almost like peat moss. Like it's dust because it's so dry. We have a 40-acre farm which we grow food for the community, like strawberries and things like that. We also have a retail establishment that we give the food to. But we use this to do our raised beds. And then we turn around and, you know, it's so dry, it's so fluffy, it works really well, and it's so organic. And then we take our spent yeast, and we have like a truck with a hose, like a fire hose, and we spray the yeast around in like a sprinkler type system where it gives the nutrients to the soil. I mean, I wish I was a plant there. I mean, that must be pretty happy. So, you know, a little of my history again. I'm a certified beer judge. United States and Canada. We did a school when I was at Schlafly and graduated that in '99. What does that do for me? Absolutely nothing, but I can tell you that. I was a speaker once at the Craft Brewers Conference, and that was kind of cool. I was able to talk about, my position was a board of 4, and my role was to talk about ownership of a brew pub and what that would affect to a server. That was the other part of the board, a female beer enthusiast, and a brewmaster. So we had an open discussion there. It was pretty cool. Another Craft Brewers Conference story. You guys may or may not know, Schlafly won a Kolsch gold medal in 2010. And I was up there with the brewmaster, Otto, to receive that award. It was really cool. That was a long night. We thought we'd win earlier. You know, we had placed all these stuff in here, and we thought APA would be a home run. Pale Ale, sure, we might win this category. So in Otto, he had his parents, or no, not his parents, his brand new in-laws at the table. We're right front and center, 3,000 people. And we thought we were gone. So, you know, of course, beer's kind of unlimited, so you're hitting on that a little bit. And it was category 69, and it was German Kolsch style beers. So it goes silver, or bronze, silver, gold, just like the Olympics. So it went bronze, nothing. It was some German. It went silver, another German, right? So at this point, it was our last pony that we had left, and it said Schlafly Kolsch. It was one of those things. So you walk around, and there's behind a curtain. My back probably still hurts from Otto jumping on it. He was a bigger man than I was, and you get up there. It's really, really cool. Anyway, good experience. So I got another beer in my hand. So that brings me to some more talking points. All right, so Steller IPA. We talked about the mammal research, and that gives some play to the beer, but the beer stands alone. I mean, what we have here, man, it's got a nose right up front. Yeah, I'm pulling it. They're going to say that the color is Baltic amber. If you guys know what Baltic amber is, that's the color. Because I've never heard of Baltic amber. IBUs are shooting around 59, ABV around 60. So I've got a little IBU story, but you guys in this room, you love to debate me on it. So I think IBUs are like hot sauce. So we got a lot of brewers that are cranking it up, and especially in the last, let's say, 10 years. And as much as that's kind of cool, it masks what the brewer's actually doing, because I can throw hops in a kettle. I think the human palate picks up statistically around 84 IBUs. After that, it's null and void. It's almost like hot sauce. You put in too much. It's like the top came off the Tabasco, and now your fish tastes like hot sauce. So that brings you back to the IBU dealio there. So what are we getting here? Definitely piney. Yep, I got you there. I mean, she lingers for a little bit, kind of like front bitterness. Yep. Come on, back of the room. I know you sit back there for a reason. You got to speak up. Dude, I was the back of the bus guy. We were going on this football trip, right? And, I was a lineman. And we're going all the way into, like, southern Louisiana, because I played football down there. And first of all, the mosquitoes were, like dime size. And we were in the playoffs, and we really sucked. So coach is driving, and he doesn't see this train track. So he jumps it, right? And he catches air. I'm in the back of the bus. I never did sit back there after that. And right on top, you had the bars, because you had all your equipment on top, right? We landed, all cool, 2 concussions, 3 guys were out. So, it's like, thank goodness they weren't like the starters. We still got our ass kicked. But, so, it was like, so the rest of the year, this is my senior year, whenever coach was driving, helmets on, when we were riding the bus. It was like just to get them back. Anyway, so that's the back of the bus story. Any more questions about the Stella? I think, this is not widely available here in St. Louis. It's more, you'll see it through major brands. It's like a 22 ounce. Where is it available? Well, I was smart enough to bring some of my distributor partners here tonight, and maybe they can help me in the end. But yes, I would say my favorite and only retailer, Cicero's in the Del Mar Loop. Yes, yes. Yeah, it is not a high-driven draft. And in the bottle form, your bigger independents, your Lucas Liquors, I've seen it there. Your Randalls, I would assume it would be there. But in your main grocery channel, it'd probably get lost in the mix. And it would be a 750 mil, just like the one that's displayed this evening. What hops? I don't have that on my list, but I'm taking a whole bunch of Cascade. Maybe you got Simcoe out of that? Chinook? Well, we're not going to beef it up with sugar. That would become naturally. So we wouldn't do that to run the ABV up. No. Yep. I mean, again, this beer. It goes all around the place. And I would not mow my lawn with this. On the first one, we looked at 20 on the Pranqster. Because it's supposed to be humorous. It's not PR Inc. It's not prank. And it's a Q, So, and if you look at the bottle, in this picture, it's a scene of some people having fun. And Mark, who's our owner, they shoved his face into the lower right. You can see it because it looks out of place. So it's a prank. And the tap handle looks like a court jester. Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, then you need... Okay. The ABV, that was 7.6, I believe. Let me fact check it. Though she asked about Pranqster, right? Oh, the Steller IPA is 6 even. Yeah. Thank you. All right, well, let's see if I can fill some more anecdotal time. From that, I think we did $1 million last year to the mammal research. I mean, it's very significant. I mean, it's like $1 per case type thing. Well, we have friends. Okay, so we don't own it. We don't profit from it. We may back off of that if, financially we can't manage it. But they depend on us. And we just gave a huge donation. It was like a month ago. And these guys, they really like it. I mean, because they're passionate people. Just for the sale of that one. And then the Brother Felonious is just for the jazz. So... and this one we're going to drink is just for my back pocket. Not yours. I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, I don't know. I could look that up or maybe find that online. But it is more, that one is more, it's not as financial as it is, getting the equipment to the kids, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't, we're probably picking up used goods and bringing it. Yes. Well, I mean, we're doing it probably both directions, where we're, well, Herbie's part of what we're doing. So, I'm not saying he's on the payroll, but he's the chief of this organization, so. Okay. Right. And if you care about Scott, drink some Grand Cru. All right, so now I've got another beer in my hand. This is the Grand Cru. Now I'm going to let out a dirty little secret. This is my first time trying it. So I have been around for about, let's say, I think I said like 90 days or so. And this was not my sample kit. And there's probably reasons for that. So this was not in my fridge. So what do we got here is 11 IBUs, obviously very low. And ABV is 12.5, so it should be big. If I'm going into it, I'm thinking this is going to be a complex bomb. Probably somewhat boozy. No, I'm not getting it off the nose. Well, that's fun. Yeah. I don't know what variety. I don't know the history too much. So, did you? Yeah, I know that we're getting ready to release like a bourbon aged old Rasputin. Like Missouri gets 10 kegs. That's it. So we do these one-offs. If the people at Cicero's talk to their rep, Brian Adams, they might be able to get one. He might be in the audience, too. Wow, what are we thinking here? Yes, I mean, it's all over the place. And there's not an attribute that's really standing out that I can pick out. I'm going to ask the back of the room. Okay. What's that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like it must be so heavy malt that's disguised because there's no IBUs in it, right? And it's 12.5. How do you tell me that that's possible? Yeah, yep. 12.9. My sheet here, I've been fact checked just like they do that in that presidential stuff. And next thing I'll know, NBC is going to fact check me. At 11. No, it doesn't at this point. I mean, I think they just do that as a measure of the alpha acids. Yeah, right. Here, it's just throw it in there for fun, right? That is something else. This is not one of the cheaper beers, I'll tell you that, because the aging process and everything that goes involved in it. Mm-hmm. A little holiday. As far as how do you? Okay, so let me see if they age in oak. It's a heavy Pils malt, and they put agave nectar in the kettle. So those are all the tricks. Ooh, you too can buy now. Just seen on TV. So that's probably what's separating it, and that's honestly, now that I read it, thank you, by the way, it is that nectar that's coming out. Oh, that's a 500 mil. Yeah, I mean you could. Yeah, who needs mace? You got that in your back pocket, right? Well, you should see our freight charges from Fort Bragg to St. Louis. You want to talk about weight? Here, I'll tell you how much that weighs. Yeah. So the volume. So in our business, we work with what they call CEs, case equivalents. Case equivalents goes into gallons, about 2.25 gallons. So these 500 mils or 12s, or there are 24 in there, due to their size or their volume, it only goes into like 1.64 gallons. So, and then we turn around and, you have your freight charge on it. So yes, to that, it probably weighs, so an average case usually weighs, in bottles, about 33 odd pounds. And I'm assuming that's playing in it with a lower volume. You sit that sucker down. You have one now and you sit her down. If you look at, not this one, but the one we're doing last, old stock, this guy, as much as he's trying to be funny, but the Best Buy 2032, so I mean, it's no born on date, but what is it? So what he's doing there is he says drink now, age. So now I get to go to more anecdotal stuff because that was what I was told to do. Well, whatever Chad said, yeah, whatever's clever. So how did we, go ahead. Which one? The third one we had tonight was the Grand Cru. Yes, that would be very exclusive bottle shops. I would go to the craft beer cellar or something like that. Those are guys who are like really into it. Yes, yeah, you're going to try to pull a vintage on it. So the craft brew industry, I've got 2 more stories to fill. So how did we all get here? So it was like, I look back and I reflect, and it's what was in my dad's fridge. Everybody knows what was in their dad's fridge because they were doing a little something. They were sneaking it, right? And then fronting the bottles. So my dad, coming from New Orleans, all he had was these, we had to have 7 ounces because it was so warm out that, he could drink a beer and it didn't get hot. So he had like champagne to be the Miller High Life. So, that's fine and dandy. I moved on to craft beer and that was all good. But now we look at this revolution that we're in. So I'm talking 40 years ago. Let's talk about today. What is in people's fridge? I know what's in my fridge. There's not a single style. There's not a single brand. There's a variety of things that I'm going to celebrate and have, and I'm not going to be brand specific. I'm going to be attitude specific. And so I think that means a lot. Well, because look at this movement here in St. Louis where the first microbrewery opened in 91. Tom Schlafly opened, wrote some great laws, getting it going, yada, yada, yada. When it really cycled through is when the population got older and the experience came through and the hand selling actually paid for itself. So what was in your dad's fridge? That's what you want to remember. So now that I have another beer in my hand, this one has become, believe it or not, my favorite. And you know what? When your palate's very important. So I lived my life, when I go to a bar, I say, I want an amber ale, 25 IBUs, about 5% ABV. That's where I like to drink. That's my favorite place. So I don't want to be super hoppy. I want a decent malt balance. And there's a lot of great brewers that bring this in. So back to Abita in 86, they really started that movement coming my way. So where we're here is the polar opposite. This is Old Rasputin, and this has become my favorite. So what I do is I have a little Old Rasputin, and then I have a Scotch back. I don't have a Scotch and an Old Rasputin back. This is a big old bomb that holds up. It has malt sweetness. Honestly, I think this could be the best beer I've ever had in my life. And, it just, the way it just comes out, great color, On draft, sometimes it's nitro, which is going to add some nice fluffiness to it. I mean, it's just got a great chocolate, licorice, aroma coming out. Give me 1 second. Let me describe the beer first. I need to digest my own world. Man, now, we talked about IBUs, right? This puppy is 75 IBUs. Now, we talked about the scale, right? Of 84, low 0. He might say it's 11. But the hop character is just so masked by that big malt and that 9% alcohol. I mean, that is honestly quite amazing. So it's, the Cards are going to win it. I know they're going to go to the playoffs. But watching a Cards game and this, there's, honestly, it numbs it all. Especially when Garcia's on the mound. Ma'am, in white, you had a question. The process, which makes this different, it's just heavy malt. Yeah, I mean, what it is so it's all the pounds that you're putting in there. So if I say there's 4 major ingredients, hops, water, barley, and yeast, right? So it's just heavy malt. So pounds and pounds and pounds of malt. I would assume. You can't say it's not in there. I don't have it on my dealio here, but I do have this beer alone has won more awards and medals than probably any other beer you'll find in the United States. I need glasses, but you got World Beer Championship, Stockholm, World Beer, Great American Beer Fest, World Beer Cup, so it is not only good for us, people also appreciate it too. There'd be brewers out there, I would assume, that if they had just this one beer in their portfolio, they could make a living out of it. And good for them. But we got it in ours. So. Oh, man. That's a bad ratio. I was hoping I'd be one guy. Congratulations to all the newcomers. All right, so I gotta blend some more time. This is my last little. I'm still gonna say it's anecdotal. Go at it. So yeah, it's important. It's important to me. What's important to me must be important to me. All right. So what it is how did this craft beer movement actually get going? I contributed to a president who was elected in 1976. I'm not saying I'm not saying my values or anything, but I'm contributing to something he passed an act. His name was Jimmy Carter, and he had a brother called Billy Carter. So what happened, what Jimmy did, he passed an act that allowed us to brew legally homebrewed beer. And so within that comes, Billy beer. A buddy of mine gave me a can back in the day. I never did open it up, and nor will I. But so we think about that. So if that was say between 76 and 80 before Reagan came around, what happened? We're all experimenting. We're all going, there's no homebrew shops, but we're getting our raw ingredients and we're experimenting. And next thing you know, we've got a movement that's starting really quick. I talked about a beta, 86. You know, we were the class of 88. We look at, those are people that are 30 years old around that whole realm. What they did is they worked their art form out, and then they turned around and put it in a glass. And what did that do for us? That built more industry, and freedom to roam. It's just what Americans all need. So if I would say, outside of what was in my dad's fridge, what really trends this movement is what Jimmy did by putting this act in, and then people like Sierra Nevada, North Coast, Beta, being some of the early boys of the game and actually caring about the quality. So, hey, before we drink, cheers to Jimmy and his act, right? All right, so the last one, old stock. So this is an old ale. All right, so an old ale, by definition, hell if I know. It's basically big, robust. I would say it would be a cousin to like a Scottish ale, where it's very malt forward. And again, this is the one I said we could probably sit around and age. They say in the bottle it says it's 2032 or 23, whatever 16 years from now is. Very malt forward, right? Raisin? Currant? Molasses, I like that one a lot. Very rich, very deep. I mean, very, very deep going down. So all day I'm going to tell you that this guy is 11.8% ABV, and it is going to turn around and be about 34 IBUs. So you're probably not getting much out of the hop balance. Very malt forward. I mean, extremely malt forward. Now this right here, we talked about Thanksgiving. I think Chad did. This, if you want to get off of that, whatever that hangover is from the turkey, you want to boost that out. Yeah, your tryptophan. Or you got your mother-in-law over, give her some of this. Well, there's issues there. Well, you don't have to have this done. Right. You've checked that box. Sorry. Right. Well, it was my father-in-law's birthday yesterday, so it's in my head. Anyway, I got some questions in the back. So this is an old ale. Okay, so that's in the BA definition. There is a category for old ale. Excuse me? It's like me saying what does pale ale mean. I guess it's an old. It would be an old English style. So if we talk about shillings, so in England you would have to pay by shilling. So more ABV, the more the shilling. So you'd have a 60, 70, 80, 90 shilling. So when I say it's probably a cousin from the Scotch, it's probably about 100 shilling. So it's probably like creeping it up. So there's a company actually out of they probably have it here. That it has a 90 shilling. So if I would compare that, what's the name of that company? Odell's, yeah. So I would say that would probably be a little cousin to it. Yes, it is a Scottish ale. 90 is Scottish. So mild, English mild would probably be about 60. And then they all have different names going up. So it could either be a shilling or style. Any more questions?